What's up, guys? Welcome to another edition of the Leadoff Show. Let's get started here. We have a full day of baseball. We got games all throughout the day. But really, let's jump in here pretty quick and get started so we can get through all of it. We have two main slates today. There is a 6-game early slate, starts at 3:05 Eastern, and then a 5-game main slate that's at 7:20 Eastern. So we're going to go through all of those real quick, try to break down what we're looking at pitching-wise, where maybe some of the better stacks will be, and where we think the ownership will land. So kind of a tough day for me yesterday. Hopefully you faded the Coors game. We saw actually a lot less ownership than I was expecting. Ownership on the Nats really only came in between like 20 and 30%. I think Ryan McMahon was 50% plus, but that was just because there was no other third baseman really. But yeah, ownership there was less than I expected. So we'll have to we'll get to that on the late slate, but we'll have to see how the field is treating Coors this year. Maybe that was just, with it being two bad teams, the Nats and the Rockies, they were a little lower, or maybe just because the Nats lineup came out, I think, like 2 minutes before lock. Maybe that took some people off of them. All right, let's go ahead and jump into this early slate. Like I said, it's a 6-game early slate. We can take a look at the weather report real quick. Yeah. These two games aren't on our slate, so don't really care about that. And then kind of going down to this Pittsburgh game. We'll revisit Atlanta here in a minute, but nothing too worrisome. Looks like it's just kind of cool everywhere. Cool, cold temps. So might have a little bit of wind here in a couple of places. Pittsburgh it looks like, but mainly just cold and wind in everywhere. So that's something that is kind of just break even across the whole slate. So let's go ahead and jump in here real quick. We got the Yankees at the Orioles, 8.5 total, 4.42 for the Yankees, 4.08 for the Orioles. Two not so great pitchers here. We got Clark Schmidt, Dean at 6.4K, Dean Kramer at 6.1K. Just really no interest here. Both these offenses are pretty good. These pitchers aren't that good. We have some good like middle price pitchers here that we might be able to get to. So I really don't think we'll have to go to 6.4K. Not sure if Schmidt has made a start yet this year. Yeah, 3 innings versus the Giants for 8 points. So I would expect about the same here from him versus the Orioles. Don't really have much interest in Kramer, as I mentioned either. We're not really going to be taking pitchers against the Yankees very often. For these bats, though, I think you could go either way. Let's pull up Plate IQ here real quick on the Yankees bat, see if anything stands out. I think this is a fine spot to go. I don't expect the Yankees will probably be kind of in that tier 2 of ownership, which is kind of a good spot to be as long as you're kind of getting off the main options there. The low strikeout rate for Kramer, pretty equal against lefties versus righties, so you can kind of take either side. The hard part here with the Yankees, it's they have a lot of righties in the lineup, so first you won't really get that platoon advantage with a lot of hitters, but of course Judge and Stanton don't really matter platoon wise, and Volpe looks like he's not mentioned here in Plate IQ, but he's always a huge threat for a stolen base, and Torres has been running wild as well. So I wouldn't mind something, maybe if you could grab Judge, Stanton, Torres, Trevino, Volpe, or something like that. I wouldn't mind that. I feel like that's a good balance of salary. But that Torres price is kind of creeping up a little bit. So you really will have to mix in some of these sub 3K hitters if you do go to the Yankees. The Orioles also have a lot of interest there as well. I mean, this team is just very well rounded. I prefer taking them against righties. Some of these switch hitters are better from the left side. I prefer that. Mullins, that price is high, but of course we've seen him running wild. So I kind of like that. The only problem is here, there really isn't a lot of cheap guys now that I'm looking at it. Favre, 2.4K, but it's with all these studs on this team, it's hard to get someone like that. I love Mateo. He's has had some monster home runs so far this year, and he's as big as stolen base threat as anybody. I'd be shocked if he doesn't lead the American League in steals this year. So if you can afford them, I think the Orioles are a place to go, but it's going to be tricky, I think, to get the Orioles you really want in your lineup. And of course, if you're stacking the Orioles, I would really try to include Rushman. Just like having the catcher in the stack, and especially when your catcher is your best player. I really like putting him in there. All right, moving forward, we have Reds Phillies. Some of our best pitchers on the slate: 2.89 total for the Reds, 4.11 total for the Phillies. Hunter Green 7.6K, Zach Wheeler 9.4K. Hunter Green had a monster strikeout day in his opening day start. We can pull it up real quick here. I think he only went versus Pittsburgh. He went 3 innings and still had almost 17 points. So he kind of get hit around a little bit there at the end, but I mean, he had 8 strikeouts in 3 innings. So the upside's definitely there with Hunter Green. You just have to hope that one of the maybe Schwarber doesn't take him deep or something like that. But we can check the strikeout rate real quick on the Phillies. I do like Hunter Green. He's probably my favorite of the kind of mid-range pitchers today. Let's see what we got here. Really? So it will be tough though, because Wheeler's probably the top option, so you're kind of forfeiting a little bit of that win upside there with Hunter Green. But yeah, a lot of mid to high 20 strikeout rates on this team. Even Schwarber, he's the biggest power threat, but he's also have a high K rate as well. So the thing you worry about with Hunter Green is home runs. You can see 45% fly ball rate. When he throws it so hard, when they hit it in the air, it usually goes out. So that is a little bit of a concern. But I mean, if he can go 5 innings with 2 runs or something, there's a very good chance he's looking at 9 or 10 strikeouts. So I really like Hunter Green here. If you're not playing Hunter Green and he's carrying a lot of ownership, I would not mind home run chasing with Schwarber or one of these other guys. Let's see if there's a big platoon split. Pretty equal, actually, a little bit more variety. So really, you can take any of these guys: Castellanos, Schwarber, Real Muto, maybe even Bohm. We saw what he did with DeGrom, so maybe he can handle the high heat pretty well. So if you don't play Green and he's carrying a lot of ownership, I wouldn't mind a couple Phillies. But right now, Green's probably one of my top options there in the mid range. Wheeler, he's going to be the top pitcher on this slate. He'll probably carry 60% ownership, I would think. And for good reason. This Reds team just does not scare you at all. Wheeler's a great pitcher. Don't think he had a great opening day start, or first start, but yeah, 4 points or 4 innings versus Texas. But I'm not really concerned about that. He's a great pitcher. I'll be going back to him. I'm not sure there's 2 pitchers in the mid range we really like, so it's gonna be hard to get off Wheeler. So right now, that's where I'm leaning, but we'll just have to see. But like I said, he will carry a lot of ownership. So at this point, if you don't play Wheeler, I don't even think you have to take a red. There's really no point. I think getting off Wheeler is enough leverage. There's no reason to, I'm not playing Wheeler, let me grab a red. I think if you don't play Wheeler, just forget that side of the game and move on. All right, next game we have Astros Twins. 3.61 total for the Astros, 3.89 total for the Twins. Jose Urquidy against Sonny Gray. I'm probably out on Sonny Gray here against the Astros. It is good pitching weather, but Sonny Gray just don't have a lot of interest in him. He did go 5 innings, but I was against the Royals. Had 4 walks, only 1 strikeout. So yeah, already low strikeouts. Not a high strikeout lineup here with the Astros. So I'm going to be out on Sonny Gray. Urquidy is interesting for sure. He has shown some upside in the past. That price puts him right in that Hunter Green range. Yeah, still only 4 innings here versus the White Sox. Got hit around pretty good. 7 hits, 5 Ks. I might have him a tier down from Hunter Green, but I think his ownership will reflect that. So if you end up with Wheeler, maybe a chalky stack, and you need someone in that mid range to kind of make you different, I wouldn't mind going to Urquidy. All right, Twins bats. I think there's a chance we go there. Maybe just some one-offs here. I don't know if I'd full stack with this weather. I'm not really loving the the Twins bats here, so I'm probably out on the full stack with some of these guys. Of course, are always in play, like Buxton and Correa, but maybe out on this slate on the Twins. All right, let's move forward. We got the Mariners and the Guardians. 3.5 total for the Mariners. 3.5 total for the Guardians. So we do have a pick'em game here. Looks like wind is blowing in 43 degrees. Another good pitching spot. Gilbert here. He's the third highest price pitcher on the slate, and he is right there with Wheeler, is arguably the best pitcher on the slate. It's just such a tough spot. The Guardians don't strike out that much. We can pull them up here. I believe they're better against right-handed pitchers as well. Let's see real quick. Yeah, Gilbert 23% strikeout rate, not super high, and then a low strikeouts overall for this team. I mean, outside of Zunino, basically everyone's 20% or lower. Jimenez is a good hitter, so that doesn't really worry me. I think I'm probably out on Gilbert. He'll probably come in lower owned. So if you have more faith in him than I do, I can understand if you get off Wheeler and you end up on Gilbert. I get it, but probably out on Gilbert just in this matchup. It's a tough matchup here with the low strikeout total for the Guardians. Savali, on the other hand, he had a decent last start. Yeah, there you go, 7 innings and 20 points. I saw something where since the middle of last year, he's been really good. I don't know if he made a pitch change or something like that, but in this spot, I do prefer righty against Seattle. They do have a lot of right-handed power bats, so that righty-righty matchup is pretty good for him. I really would shy away from playing a lefty against him. Let's see. Yeah, decently high strikeout totals, especially here in the middle of the order. Savali, 24% strikeout rate. So let's see. 8.3K. He's going to be a little bit more expensive than Hunter Green and Urquidy. So I'd probably go to one of those places before Savali. But I think Savali will have very, very low ownership here in this spot. So if you want to go there, I would not fault you. But these offenses I'm probably out on. These are two Gilbert's a good pitcher. Savali maybe average or slightly above average. So really no interest here in these hitters. All right, next game, we got White Sox Pirates, 4.49 total for the White Sox, 4.01 total for the Pirates. We do have 54 degrees, winds blowing out. Giolito is 8.9K versus the Pirates. Rich Hill, 7.1K. We can make this easy. I'm out on Rich Hill, not paying 7.1K. Probably not paying 6K, maybe even 5K for Rich Hill. So no interest there. Giolito, I just don't understand him. He was so good a couple years ago, and I think the year before that he was the worst pitcher in baseball, and last year he was kind of showing signs of that again. So I just don't really understand him or know what to expect. He did have decent outing versus Houston opening day, so there's a much better matchup here. First, the Pirates. He does carry a pretty hefty price tag though, 8.9K. Let's see what if anything stands out with his plate IQ. He's probably right. I mean, he definitely has lower upside than Hunter Green. The only problem is it's tough to take two pitchers in the same game. Yeah, 25% strikeout rate. Kind of high strikeout rate overall for this team. So I do like Giolito. I probably have Wheeler as my favorite, and then Green, Giolito as that next tier of pitchers that I would go to. So if you can afford them, I don't mind it at all. It might be kind of make you a little bit different paying up for both pitcher spots as well. I think a lot of people will see that price tag and just go to Hunter Green or go to Urquidy or Savali or Cobb or someone like that. So I don't mind Giolito here, but there is some risk because he's capable of 2 innings, 8 runs. We've seen him get blown up plenty of times in the past. So just play him and hold your breath is what it's going to come down to. All right, the White Sox here, probably the highest on stack of the day, I would think. At least I think they're the highest total. One of the popular teams, regardless, but for good reason. I mean, Rich Hill's terrible, so I really like the White Sox here. They have a ton of righties, ton of switch hitters, so they have the platoon advantage most of the way through the order. We can pull up Rich Hill here real quick. Yeah, a little bit worse versus righties, but kind of bad both ways. So don't mind here. Kind of shocked here to see Vaughn's ISO so low. That kind of worries me a little bit. But Moncada is great from the right side. Robert Anderson, great hitters. Like that Woba over 4 from the right side. Berger's great versus a lefty. I like including the catcher, even though Grandal's been up and down. And then Andrews, great steal potential there, and solid contact guy. So love the White Sox here. I think they'll carry a lot of ownership, but for good reason. So if you end up with Wheeler and then maybe one of these other, like maybe anyone other than Hunter Green, I think you could probably go with the White Sox and not be too worried about ownership here. Things should be pretty spread out on this slate. We don't have one offense that's just absolutely in an amazing spot. So I like the White Sox here for good reason. The Pirates, like we mentioned, Giolito's definitely susceptible to getting blown up. With that being said, just don't love the Pirates here in this spot. I would just take some shots. Cruz, Reynolds, Choi, Smith, and Jigba, or even Bay. I would probably just be targeting the lefties here. We can check Giolito's platoon splits real quick. Oh, he actually reverse splits, terrible versus righties. So it puts a few more guys in play, but the righties here, McCutchen and Hayes, don't have much success righty. So yeah, I'd probably just stick with some of those lefties. Really, Cruz and Reynolds, if you want to get a one-off, or Bay down at the bottom. I could see a secondary stack, including some combination of those guys. All right, let's move on. Last game of the slate, we got the Royals-Giants. 3.43 total for the Royals. 4.57 total for the Giants. We have Brad Keller 6.7K versus Alex Cobb 7.4K. I'm probably out on Keller, just low strikeout pitcher, tough matchup. We saw this Giants team just absolutely crush the White Sox this past series. They had like 13 home runs or something, just crazy. So it is a tough matchup versus Giants always, because they will, just whatever, they'll take the platoon advantage whatever against you, whatever it is. I think they'll probably have 7 lefties maybe in this lineup. Yeah, it looks like 6 lefties. It's just crazy. So super low strikeout total or percentage for Keller, super high walk rate. There's really no interest there for me in Keller. Alex Cobb is interesting. He's a decent pitcher. He's definitely solid. I like taking pitchers here in San Francisco. This is a pitcher-friendly park. It is a okay weather though relative to the rest of the games on the slate. So I think Cobb's probably right there with Hunter Green. Probably a little bit of a safer option, I would say. I'd say Cobb's more likely to get 14 to 18 points, or Green's more likely to get 20 plus, but also more likely to get less than 10. So I would definitely have some interest in Cobb, but I mean, I'm a Royals lover, so it's kind of tough. They do have some power bats here in this lineup that could get to Cobb if he gets in trouble. But if I remember, I think Cobb's a ground ball pitcher. Yeah, 61%. So heavy ground ball pitchers. Maybe he can neutralize some of this power a little bit. But yeah, some of these Melendez, Pasquantino, and then of course Whit and Perez up top, going to make it tough. But I think Cobb's definitely in the mix. It says that mid range is kind of just he's right there with maybe Urquidy on a decent pitcher, semi tough matchup, but there's just not a lot to pick from overall. So he's going to be in consideration. The Royals, though, if you're not playing Cobb, I think you're in a decent spot. These prices are pretty low. I mean, Pasquantino at 3.2K. I love that. Massey 2.3K. I think you could really go Wheeler Giolito or Wheeler Savale and get a 5-man Royal stack and still have leftovers to spend up at other positions, whether that's include some of the Yankees or Buxton, or you could really pay up at another spot if you go with the Royals. So I definitely have consideration, but like I said, it makes me a little nervous with Cobb being such a heavy ground ball pitcher. So proceed with caution there. I've been burnt by the Royals a lot, so they're definitely capable of putting up a stinker. But if you don't play Cobb, I would have the Royals there, maybe a tier below the White Sox as in consideration for a decent stack. Giants, on the other hand, are definitely in play. My only concern with the Giants is getting your guys pinched hit for. That's just the most frustrating part with playing the Giants. I mean, if you play Lamonte Wade and a lefty comes in the 6th inning, Wilmer Flores is coming in to face the lefty. It's just it never fails with the Giants, so it is tough. I could see J.D. Davis or someone like that coming in to pinch hit for one of these other guys later in the game as well. So some of the guys that are probably pinch hit proof, maybe Conforto, Peterson. I don't know. They do pinch hit Yastrzemski, so I could see kind of like Conforto, VR, Peterson, Estrada, Sabal. I could see that. You did looks like projected 2 catcher options here, so having Sabal, I'm not going to play Roberto Perez if I can play Sabal. Having Sabal at mid price there, definitely an option, so I don't mind that at all. Probably one of the higher on stacks of the day that I would think White Sox Giants carry most of it, but like we mentioned, it's kind of a balanced slate overall, so I do like the Giants here. Just to recap, I think the best pitching option on the slate, and the ownership will probably match, is Wheeler. There's probably a tier 2 here with Hunter Green against the Phillies. I don't mind playing the pitcher, 2 pitchers in the same game. You're not playing Hunter Green for the win upside. He's on the Reds. He's never going to have win upside, but you're playing Hunter Green because he could go out and have 14 strikeouts. So I really don't mind playing both pitchers here. Urquidy's an option, lower upside, but a little bit safer option than Hunter Green. Savale and Giolito are kind of in that same ballpark as well. They should be a little bit lower on just because you got to pay up for them. And then I would include Alex Cobb right there as that option. I'm not going to go cheaper than Cobb. I don't think there's any reason to. I'm not playing Hill. I'm not playing any of these guys in the Yankees-Orioles game. All right, so just recap some of the hitters I like, or the teams I think. White Sox, highest on the slate, but for good reason. Rich Hill's terrible, so I don't mind that at all. It is Pittsburgh, but if there's a good hitting spot on the slate, it's probably Pittsburgh, so I like that. Giants and Phillies are decent secondary options if you don't play Hunter Green, and then maybe a cheap option I could see getting to the Royals if you are a little bit lower on Alex Cobb and he starts carrying a little bit of ownership. All right, that is the early slate. Let's jump ahead to the night slate. Let's try to make this quick. So I think we do have some weather concerns here. It's 5-game slate, and right off the bat we have a weather concern. So make sure if you're planning on playing anyone from this game, you need to set up your notifications for Kevin Roth on Twitter. He will be given. Thankfully, we haven't had to worry about that this year, but he will be given, every 15-minute updates up to lock on how he sees this game going. And he's usually pretty good about saying the game should play, but I would not trust pitchers, because the biggest thing with rain is if there's going to be a middle of the game delay that's brief, but the game can finish after, that's okay for hitters because obviously the hitters aren't going to get subbed out. But if Roth comes out and says expect a delay in the 3rd inning, the pitchers are out. No pitchers coming back out after a 30-plus minute rain delay. So if we get any kind of inclination that there's going to be a mid-game delay, I'm out on the pitchers immediately. If the delay's before the game, I think we saw that opening day with the Padres. If the delay's before the game and then he says it'll play fine after an hour wait or something, I'm all in on the pitchers, all in on the hitters. It doesn't matter. They'll just start late, but no reason to have any concern with getting subbed out early or anything. And it actually says there is a likely postponement if it rains before the game. So hopefully, if there is some rain, we'll know before it even happens. All right, moving forward, I'll be quick on this game since there is weather concerns. So it looks like we have 4.29 total for the Padres, 4.71 total for the Braves. Nick Martinez versus Jared Schuster. Don't have really interest here in Martinez. He did have a better outing the first game than I expected. I think it was against the Rockies, who went like 7 innings after I said he couldn't go deep in a game. But the strikeout rate is still low, so I think it's okay passing on him here, especially with the rain concerns, especially versus the Braves. There's no reason to play Nick Martinez. Schuster, if the game goes, I do have interest in Schuster. We'll kind of get to it. There's not a lot of pitching options on the slate, especially at that price range. I think he's definitely in the mix. And the best part about having rain concerns is if everyone's just going to be off Schuster before the game even starts. Before we even get close lock. So if we get the go ahead 5 minutes before lock that this game's a go, Schuster should have basically no ownership, especially in this matchup. So he's interesting, but there is some risk. And if you roster him, you're going to be checking your phone every 5 minutes until lock, checking the weather. So there is some concern there. If the game goes, both of these offenses are absolutely in play. Padres are such a good offense. Saw them get to Strider a little bit last night. And, Schuster didn't have a great start versus the Nats to start the season. So I could definitely see getting to the Padres if this game goes. And same goes for the Braves. We'll take the Braves in really in any matchup. So not a concern there. It is cold and windy. So maybe a slight downgrade to the righties, slight up bump to the lefties if you are taking hitters. But I have no concern. I'll take Soto, Cronenworth, lefty versus Schuster. That's not a big deal. So we can move forward though. Cardinals Brewers 3.56 total for the Cardinals, 4.4 for the Brewers. Jack Flaherty 7.5K versus Brandon Woodruff 10K. Flaherty, I think he had like 7 walks his opening start, which is just crazy. I don't have hit a decent start, 18 points, but 7K or 7 walks. I mean, that's just not what you like to see. And I'm a little bit higher probably on the Brewers than most. So Flaherty, this is such a bad pitcher slate. He's going to be there in the mix for your SB2. There's not a lot of cheap options here. He probably projects better than Schuster, especially with the rain concern. So much as I hate to say it, Flaherty's probably in the mix for consideration, but it's tough. It's definitely tough. I mean, you really just hope he can get through 5 innings, 6 innings, less than 2 walks and get you about a strikeout per 9. So there's some risk there, but it's kind of the last man standing here on this slate. Woodruff will be the top projected pitcher on the slate. He is the most expensive. He will carry the most ownership. Very similar to Zach Wheeler on the early slate. He's a really, one of the main places to go, so it's hard to get off of him. But I mean, this Cardinals offense is capable of it, especially versus righties, just because their right-handed hitters are good versus anybody. Goldschmidt, Arenado, Contreras, and then you get the platoon advantage with some of these young lefties. So Woodruff can be a little tough, but he had a great start. His first start against the Cubs, 25 points, a lot of strikeouts, if I'm not mistaken. 8 strikeouts. So I don't mind going to Woodruff. His ownership will be high, but I think that's for good reason there. So I do like Woodruff. The hitters, as it stands right now, if Woodruff carries a lot of ownership, I mean the Cardinals will be a good leverage spot. If you end up playing, we'll get to them, but the Dodgers, you end up playing like Kershaw, Flaherty, Dodgers, and you need a couple one-offs. I wouldn't mind taking your one-offs on the Cardinals. If you are fading Woodruff, wouldn't mind picking a few of those guys. Brewers, on the other hand, I really like them today, especially against Flaherty. I mean, the walks are just the dream for rallies and continuing a rally and getting more of your guys up there. Yeah, look at that 15% walk rate, just crazy. Low ISO for Flaherty, kind of a low fly ball rate. So I'd like to maybe pick guys that can get the ball in the air, regardless. So that comes out to Tellez really. Some of these guys at the bottom of the order too, Mitchell, Terang, they've been off to a great start. They've been running wild as well. So Contreras might be kind of hard to run on, but I do like the Brewers today. If you don't play Flaherty, I think you absolutely have the Brewers in consideration today, maybe as a secondary tier behind the Nats and Dodgers that we'll get to. All right, moving forward, we got Coors today. Nats Rockies 11 total, 5.24 for the Nats, 5.76 for the Rockies. It's a little bit warmer today. We saw kind of a cool Coors game yesterday, and a total of 1 run. So hopefully, like I said, hopefully you didn't fall prey to that game. I definitely did. I had the Rockies, so that one hurt a little bit. Gore 6.5K, Urania 6.1K. We can make this easy. I'm out on Urania. He's probably the worst starting pitcher in the major leagues, at least like of the guys that get regular innings. So we're definitely not playing him in Coors. Gore, on the other hand, it's definitely scary taking a pitcher in Coors. But this might be the slate for it. man, it's tough. You have Bryant and Crone there. That would kind of cause me a little bit of concern. But other than that, no one on the Rockies really scares me that much. I mean, Gore has been one of the top prospects in baseball for several years now. We can pull it up real quick and see if anything stands out. But I do have slight interest in Gore. I will say that I'd probably prefer him over Schuster if it really came down to it. So yeah, great against lefties. So looks like it's going to only be McMahon as the only lefty. So we're really looking more here at his righty totals. So there is some concern there, but he's an option. Let's just say it like that. I would not fault you for playing Gore, just because the way the price shakes out on this slate, that there's no one really at that sub 8K range that's worth paying for. So Gore's definitely in play. For the batters, the Nats are still priced super low. I mean, this is absolutely absurd. The whole team's under 3.3K outside of Meneses. So I think full Nat stack will be the highest on of the day for good reason, though. Maybe, we can get cores a little bit lower ownership. It did come in lower than I expected yesterday, so maybe that trend will follow again today. If you do play the Nats, try to get different elsewhere. I think basically every team that plays the Nats will have Kershaw and Woodruff, and then the Nats, and then 3 studs. So if you do play the Nats, you probably got to get off Woodruff or Kershaw, one or the other, and trying to make a pivot elsewhere. So obviously I like the Nats for good reason. Urania's terrible, like I mentioned, but if you do play the Nats, you probably can't play them with Woodruff and Kershaw. All right, Rockies hitters. Like we saw, Gore's not. He's great against lefties, so I'm out of McMahon, but I mean he's still susceptible to the righties. So it is cores at the end of the day. The Rockies usually carry less ownership than their opponent. Maybe it's just because it's kind of just we're used to them being there, so we just kind of get tired of it. Whereas we get excited when the opponent's in cores. These prices are low at the top of the order here, so I wouldn't mind. You can go maybe secondary stack Bryant, Crone, and then throw in one of these other guys. Wouldn't mind the Rocky stack here, especially if you're watching shows later and you see everyone's kind of pumping up Gore as the SP2 on the day. Just definitely have the Rockies in consideration there. All right, moving forward, we got Blue Jays, Angels, 4.4 total for the Blue Jays, 4.6 total for the Angels. We got Chris Bassett, 8.1K. Patrick Sandoval, 8.5K. This is kind of what I was mentioning. These kind of SB2, Tier 2 type pitchers after Woodruff and Kershaw just are in tough matchups and are not that good. Bassett was terrible his opening day start. I think he was like negative 15, negative 16 points. Yeah, negative 14.5 versus the Cardinals in his opening day start. So really no interest there. I'd prefer Sandoval probably, but man, it's just so hard taking a lefty against the Blue Jays. Some of their best hitters are righty: Springer, Bichette, Guerrero, Chapman, Kirk. Varsho is good against lefty. So I'm probably out on Sandoval as well. It's just tough. I mean, if you play Woodruff and Kershaw, there's obviously no reason to go here. But if you need one pivot, you're really deciding between these guys: Flaherty, Schuster, plus range concerns, or Gore. So it's tough. The more I look at it, Kershaw and Woodruff are going to be way up there in ownership, and maybe for good reason. So maybe the play is just to go Kershaw, Woodruff, and then get a very low on stack for your hitters. So with that being said, if you're trying to pivot off one of those guys, I would prefer Sandoval maybe in this matchup. A little bit more strikeout upside, but it's definitely risky. Hitters, like I mentioned, my concern with Sandoval, that's because the Blue Jays are so good. Blue Jays are definitely a good option here. I'm trying to think. Probably they'll be lower on than the Dodgers and the Nats, so I do like going there. If you play Woodruff and Kershaw, it might be hard to pay up for some of the top of the order, so you'll end up kind of here in the middle to low part of the lineup. So maybe that'll make you a little bit different. So wouldn't mind the Blue Jays here. The Angels as well, I feel the same about them than I do the Blue Jays. Bassett's terrible, and the bottom of the order here is really good. So it does get tough when they're top 4 hitters all have outfield eligibility. So I mean, Ohtani you can put at first, but then you're still limited with Ward, Trout, and Renfroe. You're going to have to mix in some of these guys at the bottom of the order that can play in the infield. I love including a Hoppy. He's off to a great start. He's a great prospect for the Angels. And of course, I'm going to include the catcher in the stack if I can. So I wouldn't mind going to the Angels. That should be a lower on stack that you can use with Woodruff and Kershaw to get a little bit different. All right, moving forward, Dodgers, Diamondbacks. We have 5.45 total for the Dodgers, 3.55 for the Diamondbacks. Kershaw, 9.7K. Bumgarner, 7K. I think the roof was open last night in Arizona, so if that's the case again, we're looking at 80-degree weather, absolute best hitting spot on the slate. Kershaw, though, is interesting. Against these Diamondbacks, he'll probably be the second highest on pitcher on the slate, and for good reason. I mean, Kershaw's filthy. The only concern with Kershaw is pitch count. I mean, they might take him out at like 85 pitches. If he's sitting at 83 pitches, 35 innings, he's probably not coming back out. If he's sitting at 86 through 6 innings, I think this is what happened here versus Arizona last time, he's definitely coming out. So that's the only concern there. But I mean, with this slate of pitchers we have, Kershaw's an absolutely great option. Bumgarner, absolutely not. He's terrible now, and not taking a pitcher against the Dodgers unless there's an extreme circumstance. But that is not this slate. Dodgers, on the other hand, probably your top on stack of the day, even over the Nationals. I mean, they're great offense for sure, and against Bumgarner, I mean, that they're in such a great spot. So if you end up going Kershaw, Woodruff, Dodgers stack, you might have to try to make that a little different price wise too, though. You might be kind of limited. I don't know if you'll be able to get Betts, Freeman, and Will Smith. Looks like they're projecting Barnes, so if that's the case, I like including Barnes in there in the stack, just getting the cheap catcher in the great spot. Martinez price is creeping up though. So maybe I kind of like the middle here, Taylor, Vargas, Thompson, righty versus lefty against Bumgarner if you do go with the Dodgers. But just keep in mind that Kershaw, Woodruff, Dodgers, Nationals, that pair of those 4 spots are going to be really popular. So just maybe try to pivot off one of those if you're in that position. Diamondbacks, if you're not playing Kershaw, I don't mind taking a couple shots here, maybe with Christian Walker or Evan Longoria. Kyle Lewis as well, super cheap, and he has steal upside too if he gets on base. So if you end up going Woodruff, different pitcher, and then at that point you can go Dodgers hitters, and then maybe get 1 or 2 here from the Diamondbacks. I don't mind that at all. Just because at some point you got to try to get different if you want to play. The higher stack here. And if the roof is open, this is such a great hitter spot, especially with compared to everything else on the slate. This is a great spot for hitters. So, all right, just recapping here on the night slate. Rain concerns here, so definitely caution. I'm out on Martinez. Caution on Schuster. You're gonna have to follow the rain updates. Both of these offenses are definitely in play though if the game does go. And the more concern we have like up to lock, the lower their ownership would be. So just you're going to have to be following that all the way to the end. Flaherty's a decent tier 2 pitching option. Woodruff is your top pitching option. Both these offenses are dangerous though. So if you want to mix in a few pieces, I don't mind that at all. Especially Tellez. I could see him taking Flaherty deep. Nats, Rockies. Coors carried lower ownership than I expected yesterday. So the Nats might come in as actually the second highest on stack behind the Dodgers, which if you can get a Coors stack that's not the highest on, that's always a decent option. So I don't mind that. Gore, if you're just feeling lucky and you really want a cheap option to get some of these top hitters, he's a decent play. Blue Jays, Angels, probably out on the pitchers, but if you need Sandoval has a little bit more upside in my mind. Both these stacks are kind of in that tier 2 as low owned, but they're capable of putting up a big score. So I don't mind them as well. And then we just covered Dodgers, Diamondbacks. Dodgers top on stack for good reason. Kershaw probably second on pitcher, and for good reason there as well. All right, I hope that it's a lot of info with 2 slates. Make sure you get all your contests reserved, even if you're not making lineups yet, just in case something fills up. probably won't do any shows this weekend, but DM me if you have any questions, and we'll get back at it on Monday. But hopefully you got 2 chances tonight. So on the split slate, I still like to enter my usual like 5 to 10% per slate. I mean, they're 2 different slates, so take advantage of it. If there's one slate you can't really research for, maybe just play the other one and go from there. So all right, appreciate watching. Like, comment, subscribe to the video. Hope you guys are enjoying these. Hopefully you're learning a lot here in this first week, and that you're making a little bit of money. So all right, thanks guys, and I'll see you at the top.